Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, coming at you with a page in my Miami Beach album. And today I'm working with some older product. I decided to dig deep in my stash, and I'm working with some crepe paper and also this paper in the background I got from an old Cocoa Daisy collection. It's by Alexandra Renke, I believe is how you say it. It's like hand painted oceany, and it matched just so perfectly. I was so glad to finally grab that out of my stash. So you can see I've trimmed it down to fit in my Life Crafted album, and I am using the crepe paper, this brown side of the paper, and I'm going to rip it and have it span both sides of the page, and I'm actually going to use the back side of it, which has that pretty pink pattern, as little paper strips as well, with some creative paper engineering. So my initial concept for this layout isn't exactly what happened. So this was kind of where I was starting. I knew I wanted to have paper tears across the whole page and kind of uniting the whole thing together. But when I started putting all of these photos down, I realized that if I wanted them in a really fairly orderly configuration where they were very like in a very grid-like formation, it felt, with the paper tears and the hand-painted background, it did not feel very, it didn't match. Like, that kind of orientation didn't match the organic feel of this layout. So in a second here, as soon as I get all these papers down, I'm trying to avoid covering up that large seahorse down there. In a second, when I get all these papers put down, I'm going to start fussing with the photos. So you can see I'm like tucking it into the tears. I'm trying to decide which photos go on which side of the paper. I'm trying to see if I can make it work in a sort of grid fashion while actually going with the organic feel, and it just is not working for me. It is not coming together. So I struggle here for a minute, and I actually really liked that, but it covered up too much of that picture, obviously, and I didn't want to pull apart the tears and make them span more of the page. So what I do is I end up here is where I kind of have an epiphany, and I start pulling these photos across the page and having them overlap both sides of the page. And I'm like, oh, wait, oh yes, I love this. This is where I wanted to go. You can see my hands did a little like yee. So I decided to go with sort of a dream board, mood board feel for this layout. Kind of like if you were dreaming up your dream vacation and you were putting down a bunch of like sightseeing places you wanted to go, etc. You just make a freewheeling collage, and that is kind of the direction that I wanted to head in, and it worked out so wonderfully. I'm so glad that this epiphany came to me, because this is a layout that I'm going to like. This is probably one of my favorite layouts in the whole album, or it's going to be, because it just came together so perfectly. So that would have worked really well, that collage, but it covered up part of, or too much of, the paper strips that I had created on that side, and I end up covering up a lot of it anyway. But my initial hesitation with putting that photo up there was because I didn't want to cover up those paper tears. So I put it down here, which actually works out really well anyway. And so I've got it all laid out, and I'm going to put down some more of these paper tears just to extend it a little bit and give me more of a visual paper strip kind of a feel. I did it on both sides. So now I've got a bunch of stickers and die cuts from a Simple Stories collection. I don't remember what it's called. It's one of their travel collections from this year, and I'm going to start putting them down on this page like it's a collage. So I'm putting things like, I'm tucking them in and putting things over the top of the photos, because I really just, again, the whole vibe of this that I wanted was organic. I wanted it to feel like a collage that I just threw together, but of course I can't actually just throw it together because design principles and all of that. But you know, how do you design something that looks thrown together but isn't thrown together? That's what I'm struggling with here. So I pulled out a bunch of stickers, and I'm trying to use those as well, but not stick them down completely, so that I can move them around. but I'm just sort of building out from the edges of my photos, and then after I have the edges sort of built out, I will start going over my photos, because I feel like it always works out better if you almost like start from the edge and work your way in. I do move things around a lot. I end up removing that yellow sun because when I get to the end of it, the happy face on the sun just doesn't feel like it really goes. So I'm going to replace that yellow sun with one without a happy face. So there's that. I'm just sort of tucking in things actually that make sense with the concept of the whole vacation as well. Like there will be photos where I'm wearing a hat like that hat I'm putting down right now. So I'm using some imagery that, even though it doesn't really make sense to this layout specifically, it makes sense in the context of the vacation as a whole. I really liked this Let's Go. Trying to make it fit on this page without covering up too much of that globe, which I'm actually very much struggling with. Decided to move the globe down just slightly, and that works a little better. I wanted these 3 word strips: living the dream, time spent together, and love this place. For consistency across the page, decide to incorporate some arrows as well. I felt like they worked with the flow of the collage. This one is fatter, so it went up there to cover up that white space. And this one's going here. I always love arrows because it just kind of points you in the direction that you want your viewer to look. Some sandals, of course. And you can't have a page full of people wearing sunglasses without sunglasses. And of course a bikini. I wanted to incorporate some of that orangey red more into the layout too, because I had it in some places, plus that brown in the background paper. It was just, it needed the whole page needed some warming up. Decided to snip this living the dream. Then of course I have some trapped white space that is going to drive me crazy until I figure out what to do with it. I'm trying to peel the backing off the die cuts because for some reason I thought that they were Cocoa Daisy adhesive die cuts, probably because they are very similar shape to the hearts that Cocoa Daisy uses. But these were all from, everything in here except for that black time spent together is all from Simple Stories. I really loved this Wild and Free. I thought it finished off the page so well, but I couldn't use it because there was just too much of that teal color. So now I'm going to try something else. I want to move this camera up here instead of the sun, and that fills up that space a little bit. And I do end up putting the sun down, but again, it just, you see, once I put it down, it just doesn't quite work with the whole vibe of the layout. So I'm going to pull it up at the last second, trying to see if there's anything else I want to put in here. I feel like this bottom right corner is not quite collagey enough. So initially I put that getaway hotel key there. I feel like it didn't quite work. So I'm going to incorporate some Cocoa Daisy chipboard that says Final Summer Adventure in summer mode. The colors matched really well. But I'm going to switch these around because I still want to incorporate that hotel key, and I didn't want too much pink down there in that bottom corner. So we're going to work the other way. And that is about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. And I will see you next time. All right. Thank you.